Welcome everybody to another Sunday night short. I've been machining suspension parts several evenings this week, and my friend Martin came round today and collected them. I'm still trying to edit the what footage I took into something coherent. Some of it I just didn't feel I had time to film and end up with usable footage, but I've got to make another complete set for myself, so I can take my time a little on that and turn it into something a reasonably coherent series, properly describing in one place what I'm trying to achieve and why I'm doing it. Managed to find some parts for the repair of the race bike. Got a couple of alloy barrels, which obviously are considerably lighter than the iron barrel. Still looking for a better set of valve gear if I can find one, but I think I'm going to have to do some TIG hard facing and build up the rockers as an interim plan. I've identified what the piston used in the engine was and got some ideas about where I'm going to put a different piston in and get things spaced out better. The way the engine had been put together had caused some problems, as I've mentioned in previous videos. Anyway, that's slowly coming together. Now, Tom Lipton had arranged for some of the UK subscribers to his channel to meet up, and Steve Bunn works at the Royal College of Art and had recently moved over into their engineering workshops, and had found Tom's channel an invaluable resource, and in thanks to Tom, had offered to show anybody who wanted round their workshops. And as it happened, I was the only person who could make it down last Wednesday. They've got their student exhibition on at the moment, but I got shown round the engineering workshop and had a nice little tour of their rapid prototyping facility, which is something I'm looking at for work, to get some, in the common vernacular, 3D printers. But they had powder metallurgy technologies and fusion deposition, which is the extruder machines that most people are familiar with when we talk about 3D printing, and laser stereo lithography. Some very, very nice equipment down there, and good discussions which were helpful from the work point of view, and had a really good day out. Thanks, Steve. And also from Tom, had a little package turned up. I'd requested some fasteners from him, and so we'll have a look at that. And I've bought some cutting tools. Well, this is the insert tool holder that I bought from JB Cutting Tools up at the Stafford Classic Bike Show, and I've been getting some good use out of it, and liking it quite a bit. It was £18 with one of these ground and polished inserts that are good for aluminium, but certainly light cuts on steel. They also work well. It came with a spare insert, and then I bought some of the more appropriate for steel inserts, and these are CCMTs, 09 size, and I've been getting on with it pretty well, but you'll notice that I've got it mounted in my quick change tool holder at an angle, and that's because the tool holder the edge of the insert is essentially parallel with the edge of the tool, so to be able to use it for turning and facing, I've had to angle it, and that's really as far as I can go and keep a hold of it. So whilst I was doing the suspension parts, I decided I could use some different geometry tooling, and built an order up and added another CCMT holder to the order to use as an alternative. So I had an order turn up from, let's go back wide again, there we go, Associated Production Tools. So we've got another holder for the CCMTs, but this one has actually got an angle, so it can be held straight, and the finish on these is pretty nice. The pocket on the other tool, I had to give it a little tidy up with the diamond lap, and it's worked fine, but these appear to have a much better quality of finish. Each one came with a Torx key, and these were this particular one I'm sure was £15 plus VAT at 20%, as not being a business and VAT registered. So they're probably not a dissimilar price, but I think they're a better tool. So I got the CCMT, and because I had to do a groove, I went to DCMT tooling. I actually did these hadn't turned up, so I did the job with plunge cutting with the part-off tool, which actually worked very nicely, but these would have been a nicer choice in order to turn up to the shoulder this way, and then use the opposite hand tool to turn up to the shoulder in the other direction. Yeah, there's nice finish on the pockets. The other thing was that this is a somewhat random shank size. It's about 11 millimeters by 11.5 or something. It's a slightly strange size, and this is a proper 12 by 12. I'd love to be able to use slightly heavier tooling in my lathe, but despite the fact that the holders will easily accommodate larger tool bits, I have difficulty getting them on centre height, because the top slide to centre clearance is so small. So yeah, looking forward to trying these out. I think they're going to be really nice, and the company was very quick in delivering. Now, I was expecting a box from Tom, but I haven't yet heard back from him as to whether he actually likes Marmite. So I had this box inspected by Bengal Security. I let my cats have a sniff at it to decide whether it might be booby-trapped, but seemed fine. So I got some of my packaging back, and so Tom sent me another set of Maxi Flexes. You know, through watching him, I gave a pair a try, and I do like them. Now these are a large, and I normally take a medium, but there's not a lot of difference in fit. These fit really nicely. I mean, maybe they'd go a little bit slack as they wear in. I've got rather daintier hands than Tom, but thank you very much for those, Tom. They'll be kept as my best pair. The other pair are all looking rather grubby. And he sent me some of the aircraft drills that have been doing the rounds, and you know, not something you need every day, but every now and then you do need to reach into an awkward corner and get a hole drilled. And these all appear to have a really decent grind on them. Some of them look to be facet ground rather than conical ground, which is something I sometimes do. So those are handy. And there's a couple of the Weldon style countersinks, and countersinks frequently come in handy. And the thing I asked him to get me was some fasteners, and these are actually for the suspension project. These cartridge emulators, if you look at the nylock nut that goes on the end of the bolt that puts the preload on the spring, the nut is actually quite large and is partly obscuring the fluid ports, which is far from ideal. And what my plan was to replace the bolt with a stud. So this will thread in till it bottoms out, go in with a touch of Loctite, and the excess removed, and then it'll be turned down and threaded this end. Now, I originally thought these were M4, they're being from probably from China or possibly Taiwan, but it turned out the thread is an 832, and that's not particularly common over here. And I made a couple of requests to Tom, and in the end he suggested he send me some fasteners that I could turn down and thread. Now, I've not always had great success with turning this sort of material down, and particularly in threading it. There's no specific alloy used for these fasteners, as long as they meet the tensile strength requirements. They seem to put absolutely anything in, and I've had stuff that machines beautifully and other stuff that's like trying to machine chewing gum. So anyway, I don't unfortunately have an M4 die. I thought I did, so I came up with another solution. But in the meantime, I did try machining a head of one of these, and these fasteners machine absolutely beautifully. I'm going to have no trouble at all machining that and threading it and making a nice job. But Tom didn't just put the fasteners in the bag. Let me just put that back together and out of the way. He sent me a whole bunch of little bits and pieces. So he sent me an 832 tap, an 832 die nut, plus a whole load of nuts and washers and so on. And in particular, there were some of these slim little nuts, and in fact there were a couple with a slight chamfer on the end, and if I replace the big nut with one of these, particularly if the chamfer goes to this end, there's almost no obscuring of the ports, and you can see the contrast in size. So that's what Martin's gone away with, because I hadn't been able to get the alternative setup done just yet. So thank you very much indeed, Tom. That has worked out beautifully. This is Martin. Say hello, Martin.
Hello, Martin. It's the oldest joke in the book.
And Martin is a fellow Morini owner, and put quite a few articles on the Real Classic website, and he's here to collect the suspension bits I've been making, and we'll be subsequently publishing an article on the subject, and if we get it all back together for July the 4th, we'll be reporting on whether it actually handles better on track out at Cadwell.
Which is 4 days away, 5 days away?
It's Friday.
It's Friday, and I'm working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so it's going back together today, and hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, I'll be the first one on the track with a rigid front end.
Probably not that bad. The only thing that slightly concerns me is that whether we've got too much rebound damping, but
we'll start with thin oil and see what happens.
Yeah, if it works. If not, we'll drill that out. And
yes, it should be interesting on Friday, but hopefully it's improvement.
Yes, no more wrists getting broken over speed bumps. And I've got to get my bike fettled too.
Yeah, it's all go last minute.
Yeah, I just want to remagnetise my flywheel, which I'll do today, and get the hopefully get the starting improved. Anyway, on to other things.
Brilliant.
Just got to do a bit of work on my Ryobi strimmer and brush cutter, and it's performance-wise, it's been a pretty good bit of kit, but I'm having some problems with it, and well, you can see here that the fuel lines are off, and the modern fuel has degraded it. So thumbs down to Ryobi for not using tubing and so on that's compatible with the modern fuel, and the primer bulb is all split, and the design is poor from a point of servicing. Now, I'm not going to say it's bad design, because they design it for production and not for servicing, but this is really annoying. The two screws that hold the primer bulb on, which with this plate, I can get to one, but I can't get to the other because of this plastic piece that holds the legends for the start control, and I've got to take off that piece of plastic, and it's held on with the fasteners that retain the carburettor. So hopefully I can... No, that's the wrong socket. I can do this without breaking the carburettor itself loose. Now, where did I put the Torx bit? Okay, it was hiding in plain sight. Always slightly awkward doing this with one hand. Now what I'm going to do is put the bolts back in to hold the carb in place while I work. And see if we can get away without using a spacer. Yeah, looks like it. Okay, we'll have the whole top of the carb come off, which is not ideal, but everything looks okay. And I can get that primer bulb off if I zoom in. You can see all the cracks and splits in it, and I can get it measured up and make sure I'm ordering the right replacement.